Welcome to the FHIR Lab, Setting Up the Development Environment session. In this hands-on lab, we will set up a fully functional development environment tailored for FHIR application development. Our goals are to have a fully configured environment in which all the right tools are installed to ensure the smooth workflow for developing, testing, and running FHIR-based applications. Here are the components we will install. Visual Studio Code for our code editor. Visual Studio Code is our primary integrated development environment, or IDE. It offers powerful extensions, debugging features, and seamless integration with Git, Docker, and APIs, making it ideal for FHIR development. We'll include Git, which will be our version control system. Git helps us track changes, collaborate with teams, and maintains version histories for our projects. It's crucial for managing code in distributed teams and ensuring seamless updates. We will then next install Docker. This is necessary for running IRIS for Health with our FHIR server. Docker allows us to run an isolated instance of InterSystems IRIS for Health, which includes our built-in FHIR server. This provides a pre-configured environment for FHIR applications without complex local setups. We'll install a number of Visual Studio Code extensions. The most important is the REST client extension. This is necessary for running FHIR API queries and will make requests directly from Visual Studio Code to our FHIR server without needing a separate tool like Postman. We'll then install Python for writing FHIR-based client code. Python is a versatile programming language that we will use to build FHIR clients, automate workflows, and interact with the FHIR server programmatically. Lastly, we'll install Jupyter Notebooks. This will be used for AI and FHIR assignments. Jupyter provides an interactive environment for running Python code, making it perfect for FHIR-related AI experiments, data analysis, and assignments. Before you begin, ensure you have administrative privileges on your system because many of the applications we'll be installing require administrative credentials. In the course, we will be using Visual Studio Code, or VSCode, as our preferred development editor. VSCode is a lightweight yet powerful integrated development environment, or IDE, that offers excellent support for FHIR application development. It provides a highly customized experience with an extensive range of extensions that enhance productivity. One of the key reasons we prefer VSCode is its seamless integration with essential tools such as Git, Docker, Python, REST API clients, and other applications, making it an ideal choice for this course. It supports multiple programming languages, offers built-in terminal functionality, and provides robust debugging features. To get started, you'll need to install VSCode on your system. Simply go to https://code.visualstudio.com and download the appropriate version for your operating system. The installation process is straightforward and typically takes just a few minutes. Once installed, we will configure VSCode with the necessary extensions to optimize our workflow for FHIR application development. This setup will allow us to efficiently write, debug, and test code while interacting with our FHIR server. Let's begin by downloading and installing VSCode, ensuring that we're ready for the upcoming exercises. Here I've logged into my Windows 11 laptop and I brought up the Microsoft Edge browser. I'm going to look for VSCode because I've forgotten the link. And here I'm going to click on the major link and say download for Windows. It's now downloading the installation file we need. As soon as that's complete, we could try to open the file, or, which I normally prefer, is to go directly to the download section, but here we have it and we'll accept the agreement. Click next, and this path is fine. And just select the defaults. Here I'm going to add, though, I would like to add Open with Code to Windows Explorer and the context menu. And I want to do that for the directory and also create the desktop shortcut. So select all of those and click Install. This may take a couple of minutes. It has to extract all the files, but it usually is a very simple process. Here it's nearly complete. Once it's complete, click Finish. And now we could click on the desktop icon, Visual Studio Code. And there's a lot of tutorials and other things you could view. We'll just click Close here because we have other things we need to install. Next, we will install and set up Docker, which is a crucial tool for running FHIR development environments. Docker is a containerization platform that allows us to create lightweight, isolated environments where applications can run consistently across different systems. In this course, we will use Docker to run InterSystems IRIS for Health, which includes a FHIR server, ensuring we have a controlled and reproducible development environment. For our setup, we will use the free personal edition of Docker Desktop. However, please note that Docker still requires you to register for an account before downloading and using their software. If you don't already have an account, you could create one during the installation process. To install Docker Desktop, visit this web link. Make sure to download the appropriate version for your operating system. Once installed, follow the installation steps and complete the setup. Back in VS Code, I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to open the Edge browser to find the location for Docker. So let's type in Docker Desktop. And here's the major link. Close that out and choose a plan. We're going to go with the free plan, which is Docker Personal. It says Getting Started. Click that. Now you have to create an account. I have an account already, so I'm going to just sign in with my personal account. So I'm going to sign in here. I click Continue, type in my password. And go to Downloads for Docker Desktop. You want Docker Desktop for Windows. I'm using the Windows x86 64, so that's the version you should choose if you have that. If you have the ARM, choose the other version. And the download takes, again, a little bit of time. Now the download's complete, And let's go to our folder and look for downloads. I'll bring up File Explorer. And I brought up 2, so let's get rid of 1 and just go to where it says Downloads and then click on the Docker Desktop Explorer installer. We do need to have administrative credentials, and this is the credentials for your machine, not your Docker credentials. So type in your administrative credentials for your own machine, and then click Yes. And that should set the installer to start verifying the packages. Click Leave the defaults and start unpacking the files. Now this does take a fair amount of time, and just to speed things up, I'm not going to show on the video all the files it installs because that takes several minutes. Through this recording, I'm going to speed it up so that we get to the end, and here the installation succeeded, and we have to restart our computer. That'll take a few minutes, and we'll come back to this screen and we'll say, yes, use the recommended settings. So we've finished the installation, and again, we need administrative credentials so that Docker has permissions to run in our system. Type in your administrative credentials again. And then click Yes. Now we're being welcomed to Docker. So we could skip all these welcome messages, skip the survey. And now our Docker engine is installed, but it is stopped, so we need to start it up. And you could easily start it up by just basically double-clicking on it. Here I'm just resizing it first. And then we'll get that Docker engine started. So that's starting up the engine. We'll need this engine to build Docker containers and run them. You should leave this engine running all the time. It takes up very little CPU on your system when it's not running Docker containers, so there's no need to disable it when you're not using it. And we could say yes, allow multi-image support. That will run with both ARM and AMD chipsets, so that's great. Let's enable that. And then at this stage, we could just minimize or close these windows and go back to Visual Studio Code. And it does mention here you have this subsystem for Linux on your system. You do want that to be installed. So click Install here. This is WSL, and we need to have this installed. This is for specifically for Windows. Okay, so that is installed, and at this stage, Docker is running, and we can now use it to install Docker, build Docker projects. Just to verify, though, we will type in the Visual Studio terminal Docker -- version, and you could see we get version here that shows us that Docker. To enhance our development experience in Visual Studio Code, we'll install a few essential extensions that will help us work efficiently with Docker, REST APIs, and Jupyter Notebooks. First, we'll install the Docker extension by Microsoft. This extension allows us to manage Docker containers, images, and volumes directly within VS Code. It provides an intuitive UI for interacting with Docker, making it easier to build, run, and debug our FHIR-based applications without needing to use complex command line tools. Next, we'll install a REST extension. This is a great extension that is an alternative to Postman and enables us to send FHIR API requests directly from VS Code. We can then test FHIR endpoints, retrieve patient records, and interact with the FHIR server using simple .http or .rest files. Lastly, we'll install Jupyter by Microsoft. This extension allows us to run Jupyter Notebooks inside VS Code. It's particularly useful for AI and FHIR assignments, as we could write and execute Python code in a structured, interactive format. This is helpful for data analysis, visualizations, and AI model development. To install these, we'll open VS Code, press Ctrl-Shift-X, and search for these extensions, and then click Install. And that's all there is to it. So let's go ahead and set these up now. Back in VS Code, I'm going to go to the extension library. Let's first install Docker. And you can see Docker by Microsoft is the first choice. It's 41 million downloads. That's what we need. Doesn't take very long to install these extensions. The next extension we need after Docker is REST. So I'm going to type in REST here. And you can see the REST client. Again, the most popular one is the one we want, and we do trust it. Over 5 million downloads. The last extension is Jupyter. And this is, again, the one by Microsoft. We do want to install that. And we could, if we wanted to, we could create a new Jupyter. Now let's talk about Git, an essential tool for managing and tracking changes in our code. Git is a distributed version control system that allows multiple developers to work on a project simultaneously, track modifications, and revert to previous versions if needed. This makes Git an ideal tool for collaboration and code management in software development, including projects in this course. One of the nice advantages of VS Code is that it's well integrated in, Git is well integrated into the environment. So it makes it easy to interact with repositories directly from the editor. However, we first must install Git for this to work. After we've done this, we will clone a Git repository that contains our starter files for this lab. We will do this through the VS Code's graphical interface. I'm back in VS Code and I'm clicking on the three circles. Notice it says download Git for Windows. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to configure trusted domains, and I'm going to trust our Git domain. So here we can now download Git for Windows. I'm on a 64-bit Windows machine, so that's what I'm going to click for the setup installer. So click the appropriate version for your system. Once that's done, that'll download that, and I'm going to open up my downloads folder in File Explorer. You can see Git for 64-bit, and I'm going to click on that. And that will launch the installer. Again, I need to use administrative credentials, and I will type that in again. Accept the license, accept the standard install, and then add it to the desktop if you want. It's not strictly necessary. Click Next and click Next again. We want to just basically stay with the defaults for the most part. There's no reason to change these. You could read them, but I would stick exactly with what it says. We'll use the bundled open SSH for security. Click Next, and again, check out Windows style. Use the min TTY for the terminal. And again, this default is fine, fast forward or merge. Click Next. Enable file system caching. And now it's extracting the files. This takes a little bit of time, but it's fairly rapid. Let that go to completion. And you can see it's ready to go. So you don't need to launch it. We don't need to review the release notes. Just close this window here, close the Git window, and now we're ready to clone repositories or create repositories. We're going to just restart Visual Studio Code. I'm going to click on the desktop icon again, bring it up. And at this point, I'm going to clone a repository. This is going to be our FHIR repository. You can see it on the screen. Type that into the repository you need, and then you could just select a location where it's going. I think selecting the desktop is fine. And it's going to now pull that repository down, and we could open it when it's finished. And that takes very little time. So just trust the authors. And now you're looking at the repository we just pulled off the internet. Navigate to the folder Docker FHIR. And we're going to see in this file a Docker Compose file and a Docker file. We'll open the Docker Compose file and click Run Service. This will build the Docker container on your system because it doesn't exist there currently. There's a lot of code being pulled onto your system to enable this. So give it some time. It may take up to 10 minutes. So again, I'm going to fast forward so you don't have to wait. And now you can see the container's been started, but we must allow it to integrate with Docker. And we, again, are going to have to provide our credentials to allow open up the Windows firewall to use Docker here. So enter those credentials, and the Docker desktop backend is now going to operate over all different kinds of networks. Now that our container's running, let's see if we could log into the management portal for IRIS for Health, just to validate that our FHIR server's installed. So I'm typing localhost 8080, that's the port it runs on, /csp/sys/utilhome.csp. It's not secure, but we'll go ahead and refresh it. And actually, we don't want HTTPS. We want HTTP because we're only accessing it over HTTP. Now I'm going to type the administrative credentials here. It's _system, And let me resize this just to make it easier to see. I'm going to type _system. And then our password is capital ISC demo. And now we're in the management portal. So that shows the containers running. Let's take a look at the FHIR server. We'll go to Health. We're in the namespace demo, which is a database. And we'll go to FHIR Server Management. And you could see we have about 70,000 resources in our FHIR server. And we can see a breakdown of those resources by clicking on the resource counts. Well, we don't need the management portal for now, so we'll just put it away. I'm going to log out of the system, and I'll just close this window. As you could see, it's pretty easy to build a Docker container using a Docker file. Now that we've built it and we're running it and it's everything's checked out, we need to shut it down. And I'm going to show you how easy that is to do from the command line. We're going to just use Docker compose down, and that will stop the container. Well, I'm back in VS Code, and I'm going to open a terminal, say New Terminal. If I want to see whether the container's running, I could just type Docker PS, and you could see it is running. Now, I could easily bring it down with Docker compose down, but I wanted to show you, you need to be in the directory where Docker compose file is. So I'm going to change to Dockerfire, and now type Docker compose down. This will bring down the container. It takes really only a few seconds. So it is stopping. And if we type Docker PS, we would see that. In the course, we will need Python later for working with FHIR clients, automating API requests, and processing FHIR resources. To ensure that we're ready, we'll need to install and configure Python properly. We'll do this by going to the official download site for Python and then making sure that Python is on our install path and restart Visual Code and selecting the correct Python interpreter. So let's get started. Back in VS Code, I'm going to stop that. And now I'm going to use the Microsoft Edge browser, and I'm going to go to the official Python org site so I could get the download for Windows here. So I'm pasting in the download site, and I'm selecting Windows. I'm going to use the 64-bit installer. And now it's downloading that. I'll close these windows out and open my File Explorer and go to the Downloads section and double-click on the Python installer. So I'm going to say Install Now. And it's setting this up, as you can see. This takes a little bit of time. Python nicely integrates into VS Code when we will install the extension for Python in VS Code, and that'll help us in future lessons. So this is nearly installed now. Setup was successful, great. And there's a lot of information you could get from the Python website. But for now, let's disable that path length. So Let's, again, put in our administrative credentials so that Python can make this modifications to our path. So it puts it on the path so we could use it correctly. We'll close this out. And now we could, again, open Visual Studio Code. Now we'll go to our extensions section, and let's type Python. And we're going to install the Python extension for Microsoft. There's 155 million downloads. That's what we need. It'll make Python much easier to use. Once this is installed, we could select it, but it takes a little bit of time. So let this process complete. And it does look like it's completed. We'll go back to our files. We'll close this window. And now, using Control-Shift-P, we could type Python, and we could select the correct interpreter that we're going to be using. And notice it's already there. We just have to select it. So at this point, we have Python selected and installed. Lastly, we'll install Jupyter and integrate it into VS Code by installing the Jupyter extension. This extension will allow us to run Jupyter Notebooks directly inside VS Code, making it easier to work with FHIR data, Python scripts, and AI-driven tasks. So let's get started. We already installed the extension, but now we're going to install Jupyter by typing pip install Jupyter at the VS Code command line. This is going to download a lot of different files, but at the end, we'll have Jupyter installed. This also takes a fair amount of time, so let us wait while it gets to completion, and then we'll create a new Jupyter notebook. Okay, so now it's installed. We can create a new notebook by selecting Control-Shift-P and say, create new Jupyter notebook. Notice we have the first cell of our Jupyter notebook. I'm going to type print and then hello FHIR students. This is a Python command, and I'll just execute it now. And again, we have to enable permissions, and this is with our Windows firewall because we're executing this Jupyter notebook, which really runs in a browser. So we'll type out our administrative credentials for the last time. And now we could see the result where we got the printed statement. So everything looks good. Well, great job, everyone. We've now installed and configured all the essential tools needed for our FHIR development environment. Before moving forward, let's do a final check to ensure everything is set up correctly. To verify our installations, open a terminal in VS Code and run the following command shown on the screen. I'm going to clear the terminal and then start running the command. So the first command we want to do is see the version of code we have. So code -- version, and you can see VS Code is installed properly. Next, let's check out git -- version. We got a good version there. Great. And how about Docker? Docker -- version. Yes. And then Python -- version. Which version of Python? You'll need to know this frequently. And then finally, Jupyter. -- If you're seeing versions for all of these, you know everything is good. You're good to go. Great. This concludes our setup for the lab. I hope you were successful. It's possible that one or more of these components gave you some trouble. If that's the case, look at the directions and try to install that component again. There is also additional help on the web for errors that you may encounter. Take those errors and feed them into Google or ChatGPT, and you'll probably be given some very good ideas about where there is a problem or a hang-up. Obviously, you must have administrative permissions, as we've seen in this lab. So I hope everything is working, and I look forward to using this environment in our future lab lessons.